Yeah, we are live on YouTube. So we will start in a minute. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to this evening episode of Pursue. This is Pursue 13L, which is Pathology of Head and Neck. We are streaming live from Regional Cancer Center, Thiruvananthapuram via Kolkata. We have a very interesting topic, which is very important, an update on follicular pattern tumors of thyroid with emphasis on non-invasive follicular thyroid neoplasm with papillary-like nuclear features, which we call as NIFTP. And to talk on that, we have a national expert in head and neck pathology, Dr. Anila KR. She's an MBBS, DCP, DNB pathology. She's an associate professor in the Department of Pathology at the famous Regional Cancer Center, Thiruvananthapuram, Kerala, with areas of interest in oncopathology of head and neck and endocrine. She was awarded fellowship by the Union of International Cancer Control in 2018. She did an observership in head and neck cancer pathology at the famous Mayo Clinic, USA. She's got multiple publications in national and international journal. Before I ask Madam to start, let me request all of you, please keep your mic muted, your camera off, and please don't share your screen. With this, let me request, ma'am, please share your screen and let us start. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that introduction. So we'll start. I'll try to share my screen. So am I audible?
Absolutely fine, ma'am. Very clearly audible, and we can see your full screen. Please start.
Okay. So let us start with the topic of today. So I'll be discussing on follicular patterned tumors of thyroid, but the emphasis will be on NIFTP because the follicular patterned tumors itself is a wide topic. So the entities that I plan to discuss today are the follicular adenoma, NIFTP, a very long terminology in fact, non-invasive follicular thyroid neoplasm with papillary-like nuclear features. The title holds the essence of the diagnostic features that we have to look for to make this NIFTP diagnosis. Then you have tumors of uncertain malignant potential. So for the first time in thyroid, we are being provided with a borderline group of tumors. So under that, we have the well-differentiated tumor of uncertain malignant potential and follicular tumor of uncertain malignant potential. Then we have papillary thyroid carcinoma follicular variant and follicular carcinoma. So I will try to discuss each of these entities, but the basic emphasis will be on NIFTP. So all these entities, when we try to make a histopathological diagnosis, the features that we should look for are, the common to all these entities are that they are having follicular cell differentiation. So they are all of follicular cell origin, and they all have a follicular pattern of arrangement. And these features, depending on these features, you subclassify them into different entities that we have just mentioned. So that is the nuclear features of papillary thyroid carcinoma, whether the nuclear features are present, absent, or equivocal. So by equivocal, you are not able to tell for sure that the nuclear features of papillary thyroid carcinoma are present. It may be due to the quantitativeness or the qualitativeness of whether all the features are there, whether it is a focal, are you justified in classifying it as a papillary thyroid carcinoma. Another important feature for these entities is to look for circumscription or encapsulation. So all of these entities need not necessarily be encapsulated. Some can have just circumscribed. They can just present as circumscribed lesions distinct from the surrounding thyroid parenchyma. Next important feature is the capsule. So the thickness, irregularity of the capsule is important, and so also capsular invasion, which like in the case of our nuclear features can be unequivocally told as there is capsular invasion, or we can tell that unequivocally it is absent, or then there are cases where we have difficulty in telling whether there is capsular invasion or that is a doubtful cases. Vascular invasion is similar. Vascular invasion also, we may have no issues in diagnosing a vascular invasion, or there we can conclusively tell that it is absent, and many a times it can be equivocal. So going to each of these features, the follicular pattern, most all of us will be knowing what is the follicular pattern. So the follicular cells, the nucleus of which are arranged circularly around a space mostly containing colloid, and these follicles can be microfollicles, macrofollicles, normofollicles, or you can get a mixed pattern. Now going in details about the nuclear features of papillary thyroid carcinoma. All of us are familiar with the nuclear features of papillary thyroid carcinoma. But the problem with this is that it is a highly subjective feature. So even thyroid pathologists who are known to work in the field of thyroid pathology, there will be inter-observer variation among their take on a case of papillary thyroid carcinoma. Whether you can essentially say that there is papillary thyroid carcinoma nuclear features. So to bring about objectivity into this area, you can actually take it as a scoring system. So you have size and shape. So size means you know the follicular nucleus, the cells of the follicular cells, the nucleus are round, uniform, and in papillary carcinoma you get enlargement and elongation. You see an oval shape for the nucleus. So they become elongated. There is crowding as well as overlapping. Next, going on to membrane irregularities. So irregularities of the membrane can be folds, grooves, intranuclear pseudo-inclusions, which we are all familiar with. Chromatin features is there is clearing of the chromatin. That is, there is dispersal of the chromatin towards the periphery, towards close to the nuclear membrane, so that you get a ground glass appearance, which is classically described as orphan Annie nucleus. So this is the normal thyroid follicle. See the nucleus here, and in comparison here you have a follicular patterned papillary thyroid carcinoma where the nucleus size is very much increased, the shape is bit elongated, and you can see there is crowding and overlapping. This is the membrane irregularities, the very characteristic intranuclear pseudo-inclusions, the grooves. Most of the cases, the grooves will cover the entire length of the nucleus. So these are the membrane irregularities in a case of papillary thyroid carcinoma. And the clearing, chromatin features. So it resembles the character, Orphan Annie character, her eyes. It is the resemblance to her eyes that gave the name Orphan Annie nucleus. It is due to margination of the chromatin towards the periphery. So based on this, to bring about objectivity to your scoring, you have score of 0 or 1 for each of these characteristic feature. So a total score from 0 when none of these features are there to a maximum of 3 when all these features are there is the scoring system for papillary thyroid carcinoma nuclear feature. So this helps in bringing about objectivity to this characteristic feature that is so important in making a diagnosis. Next, when we deal with these group of tumors, our one feature is the circumscription. The circumscription. So many a times there is a capsule which can be thick, thin, or sometimes the capsule can be discontinuous also. It need not be that there should be a complete capsule. Sometimes the capsule may be absent, the lesion may be just circumscribed and it is seen distinct from the surrounding thyroid parenchyma. So the thickness and invasion are the important features. Whenever the capsule is thicker and irregular, you are having a worrisome feature. You have to extensively sample those cases. So this is a schematic representation which all of you will be familiar. It is there in the net. And this is also there in the CAP protocol for reporting thyroid carcinomas. So these are the usual various situations that come to us when we are dealing to look for capsular invasion. So this is the neoplasm which is there in red and this is the capsule in green. And there are instances when you can unequivocally, without any doubt, tell that there is capsular invasion. So for example, here, this is a tongue of tumor which has crossed, which has through and through capsular invasion and has extended to the outside of the capsule. Sometimes what happens is there is an extension, but beyond that, a new fibrous thin capsule will be formed. So even this case is this is unequivocal capsular invasion, because in such instances what you can do is you can extrapolate to the surrounding capsule and demonstrate that it has exceeded that limit. So this is a new fibrous capsule that has formed. This is definitely an extracapsular invasion because it is totally outside the capsule and these two will have resemblance morphologically. So that is about the yes, and some definite no's are when here you see, but this is a perpendicular extension. It has not breached the entire thickness of the capsule. Here also you are seeing perpendicular, that is with respect to the capsule, these tumor cell nests are perpendicularly oriented. So these two instances, and even here if you see, there is no through and through invasion of the capsule, but in all these not yet cases, you are supposed to sample more, take a deeper serial sections, and many a times you may be able to demonstrate a capsular invasion. This also, there is the mushrooming, characteristic mushrooming out of the tumor, which is a capsular invasion. Now, when unequivocally you can tell there is no capsular invasion is when there is this small nests of tumor cells, but it is associated with siderophages, lymphocytes. So that is a FNA tract most probably. So this is a definite no. And when the tumor cell nests are parallel to the capsule, then also it is a no. So this is how you evaluate your capsular invasion. So these are diagram images from the net. You may be familiar with this. This is the characteristic mushrooming of the tumor cells outside the capsule. This is yet another where there is a pseudo capsule. Here there is a new deposit of the capsule. This is also a doubtful invasion wherein, as I mentioned earlier, you have to take serial, deeper and more sampling of your specimen. So the practical points when considering capsular invasion, which is very important to categorize these lesions, are if the capsule is thick and irregular, be cautious. Gross inspection also plays an important part in thyroid pathology. So grossly, many a time the capsule may be incomplete or deficient in areas. So take care to sample from those areas. Also, as I mentioned earlier, perpendicular orientation of cell nest in the capsule. With respect to the capsule, if it is perpendicularly oriented, then be careful. Subtle invasion of capsule, always going for serial, deeper sections and more sampling. So invasion present, but you are not demonstrating through and through invasion also, serial, deeper, more sampling. So many a times for these lesions that we are discussing today, an adequate sampling means complete sampling. In pathology, we have like 1 centimeter, 1 bit, sometimes something like that. But this is absolutely not applicable in thyroid pathology when you are assessing the tumor capsule interface. An adequate sampling means a complete entire tumor capsule interface needs to be studied. There is no excuse for that. You need to completely sample it. Otherwise, there is every chance that your lesion could turn out to be a different entity than what you are offering as the diagnosis. So isolated tumor cell nest that I have discussed, that is perpendicular to capsule is worrisome, parallel to capsule is not of significance, and FNA related changes learn to identify those pseudo invasions. So next important feature that we have to know is about the vascular invasion. This is also very well there in the CAP protocol. So here let us go with the yes. What are the yes, vascular invasion present unequivocally will be when. So here again, this is the neoplasm. This tan colored thing is the capsule, and here you are getting the vessels in the capsule and also outside the capsule. So an S will be the tumor cells, the nest of tumor cells attached to the vessel wall, associated with thrombus or fibrin deposits and endothelialized. So these three are a definite yes, there is vascular invasion, and a definite no will be when free nests of tumor cells are present within the lumen with no attachment. There is no endothelial lining to these tumor cell nest, no associated thrombus. So these are definite no. Now this D thing that they have represented here, if you see, there is attachment of these tumor cell nest to the vessel wall. There is a covering by endothelial cells here, but there is no associated thrombus. So what to consider this? Let me tell you that even the world's famous thyroid pathologists are not in consensus in what to take of this. So you have to take a call. Some pathologists prefer to give this off as vascular invasion, while others are not so sure about that. So the criterion for vascular invasion that applies solely and strictly to vessels in or beyond the capsule. So if you're seeing within the tumor vessel with tumor cells, you are not justified in calling it as a vascular invasion. So why this rigid criteria is there? So for thyroid pathology, you are setting a strict criteria in predicting the metastasis. So when you apply all these criteria and call a particular thing as vascular invasion, then that producing a metastasis is high. There is high likelihood of that vascular invasion going on to produce a metastasis. And extensive vascular invasion is when more than 4 vessels are involved and there is increased risk of metastasis than also when compared to less than 4 vessels involvement. So this we have discussed. So intravascular tumor cell nest attached to vessel wall covered by endothelial cells, associated thrombi, then definite vascular invasion. But suppose if we get smooth contour tumor cell nests within vascular space without endothelial covering or associated thrombus and tumor nest in fibrous capsule abutting blood vessel, these are not vascular invasion. And IHC can be helpful at times to demonstrate the endothelialization of the tumor cell nest. So this is vascular invasion and demonstrated by the CD31, which highlights the endothelial cells. So So now let us go on to the entities one by one. So follicular adenoma, it is a solitary encapsulated thyroid nodule which is distinct from the surrounding thyroid parenchyma. So it is mostly solitary and it is encapsulated, and you can, under microscopy, you see it separated out from the surrounding thyroid parenchyma. Definitely it will have a follicular pattern and there should not be capsular or vascular invasion, and the nuclear features of papillary thyroid carcinoma should not be present. So usually you get a lobectomy or hemithyroidectomy for a follicular adenoma. Even grossly you can identify the capsule. The capsule need not always be thick, it can be thin also. The capsule with the follicular adenoma, mostly microfollicular pattern with no nuclear features of papillary thyroid carcinoma. So now we'll go on to NIFTIP, which is the one I'm going to emphasize on in today's discussion. So it is a long terminology, non-invasive follicular thyroid neoplasm with papillary-like nuclear features. So the name itself contains the important features that are needed to make this diagnosis. So first of all, it should be non-invasive. There should be a follicular pattern and there should be papillary-like nuclear features. And the importance of recognizing this is that it has an extremely low malignant potential. So I have residents coming to me and asking if NIFTIP is benign or malignant. So NIFTIP, categorically telling, the WHO has defined it as a neoplasm which has extremely low malignant potential. So this is a case where you can see a fairly circumscribed gray-white lesion in the isthmus of the thyroid, but the other lobule also had this colloid nodule. So a total thyroidectomy was done for this case. So the major diagnostic features. NIFTIP can be encapsulated or it can just show a clear demarcation. So encapsulation also can be with a thin capsule, thick capsule, an incomplete capsule, and so on. So it should stand out clearly from the surrounding thyroid parenchyma. And you have to unequivocally demonstrate the absence of invasion. And follicular growth pattern should be there. The current WHO tells that there should be less than 1% papillae, but practically speaking, there should not be any true papillae. If you are seeing a papillae, even a single papillae with a true vascular core and all, you have to be doubly sure that whether you are dealing with a follicular variant PAPC with focal papillary architecture. You should not make a diagnosis of NIFTIP. Nuclear features of PTC, score 2 or 3 should be there. Now coming on to the nuclear features of PTC also, it need not be diffuse always. Sometimes it can be focal or patchy nuclear features. The nuclear feature may not involve the entire nodule. You have to search and you may see focal or patchy involvement. If it is diffuse, well and good, easier for you to make the diagnosis. So this is the earlier image that I have shown of the circumscribed nodule. This is the follicular pattern, growth pattern, entire follicle, no papillae at all. And higher power view showing these large vesicular nucleus with grooving. So you definitely have a 2 or 3 score for this lesion. Now absence of invasion, as I have mentioned, it can be, the capsule can be thick, thin, partial, or the lesion may just be well circumscribed or clearly demarcated with no capsule at all. So as I mentioned earlier, there should be complete evaluation of tumor capsule interface. So suppose you are not entirely sampling and you are wording off your report as NIFTIP, you should add a note saying that there is every chance that this lesion could also be a encapsulated follicular variant of papillary thyroid carcinoma because you don't know whether in the remaining part which you have left, there will be some invasion or not. So for a diagnosis of NEFTIP, there should be complete evaluation of the tumor capsule interface. This is of utmost importance. Now there are certain minor diagnostic features like the colloid can be dark, irregularly shaped follicles. These are not specific features but may be helpful if present. Intratumoral fibrosis, the sprinkling sign, that is what I mentioned earlier, the nuclear features, it can be just a focus in a single nodule, small foci within an otherwise normal looking follicular neoplasm. So that also you have to search for. It looks like some neoplastic follicles have been sprinkled onto a background of normal looking follicles. So the entire lesion may not show the nuclear features. And the follicles, there can be clefting of these follicles from the stroma and multinucleated giant cells within follicles. So this is the clefting of the follicles from the stroma. They are separate, show a cleft-like space. This is the dark staining colloid. This is a sprinkling sign. This I've got from the net, not a good quality I suppose, but still you will get an idea, like you have this normal looking follicles here with small areas here and here, where in hyper you get the nuclear features. That's a sprinkling sign. Now what are the features of exclusion? There should not be any true papillae. Psammoma bodies should not be present. There should not be infiltrative borders, whether capsular or vascular. And these features which I have highlighted in red, these are characteristically seen associated with poorly differentiated thyroid carcinomas, like tumor necrosis, high mitotic activity of more than 3 per 10 hyperfield, solid trabecular or insular patterns. So these should not be there. And if you have variants of PTC, you have morphological features like the aggressive variants of tall, columnar, or the recently described hobnail variant, that is also an absolute no. So these features should not be present in a lesion that you are going to diagnose as NEFTIP. So true papillae here. In the single pore itself, you are seeing two papillae with the core. So that is a no. NEFTIP is excluded. Capsular invasion, any attempted, even doubtful, it is not allowed. The tall cell variant, not allowed. Hobnail variant, if you see features, not NEFTIP. Columnar cell also not NEFTIP. So there is an algorithm which I have taken from modern pathology, which just summarizes how to proceed with NEFTIP. So if it is encapsulated or well demarcated, if there is no capsular or lymphovascular invasion, if the variants, aggressive variants are not there, if there is no solid insular or trabecular pattern, if true papillae are not seen, predominantly follicular pattern with absent tumor necrosis and mitosis not more than 3 per 10 hyperfield, and nuclear features of papillary thyroid carcinoma score 2 or 3, then you can make the diagnosis of NEFTIP. Otherwise, these lesions could very well be a follicular variant of papillary thyroid carcinoma with invasion. It could be the aggressive variants, or it could be a follicular adenoma if it is predominant follicular pattern with no nuclear features. When there is necrosis and mitosis and solid and insular patterns, it could be a poorly differentiated tumor, and so on. Going on to the genetics also, you can very well see that the classical genetic change that you see in papillary, the conventional papillary thyroid carcinoma, is the BRAF. So BRAF V600E is the mutation seen in conventional and also your red PTC and all. But when you see NEFTIP, it is the RAS mutation which is commonly seen in follicular adenoma, follicular carcinoma series. So that is the NEFTIP being follicular patterned, in spite of having the nuclear features, they show this RAS mutation. And they are characteristically negative for the BRAF V600E mutation. So this is a article, a landmark article which had come in JAMA Oncology, and it was an international multidisciplinary study which in fact led down to this concept of NIFTIP. So in this study, it was a retrospective study wherein they had a group of patients, group 1 patients, wherein it was non-invasive encapsulated follicular variant PTC, which they were followed up for long, like 20 to 26 years follow-up period with no radioactive iodine therapy. And then they had a group 2 patients where there was invasive encapsulated follicular variant PTC with also follow-up of 1 to 18 years. And their observation was that in 12%, there was in the invasive follicular variant PTC, there was 12% adverse events, 5% metastasis, and 2% mortality, wherein non-invasive tumors, that is encapsulated follicular variant PTC with no invasion, capsular or vascular, did not have any adverse events. So they concluded that it was high time that the non-invasive encapsulated follicular variant PTC needs to be reclassified, because that will lead on to significant reduction in clinical consequences. So those patients need not have a total thyroidectomy, and node dissection can be avoided, radioactive iodine can be avoided. So it is these group of tumors that we now have renamed as NIFTIP. So they are having extremely low malignant potential and aggressive management is not warranted. So the management will be lobectomy, no need for total or completion thyroidectomy, no neck dissections, radioactive iodine therapy not indicated, and the patients can be kept on follow-up. So the stress was always on to avoid over-treatment. But what is the clinical implication? Though we know of this entity NIFTIP, it is very well, we can understand that a pre-operative diagnosis of NIFTIP is virtually impossible. So because you are depending on features like capsular and vascular invasion, which is literally impossible on a FNA. So the Bethesda system for reporting thyroid cytology, they have in fact recently made modifications taking into account this NIFTIP, new entity. So NIFTIP, when you think, can form a part of category 3 because of the atypical nuclear features or of the follicular pattern. They may be diagnosed as a category 3 lesion. They can be very well diagnosed as category 4 also, or even 5 also. So these are the usual 3 categories where NIFTIP can be diagnosed into any of these 3 categories pre-operatively. So the Bethesda system is a system that was devised to give a uniformity in conveying the thyroid cytology findings to your clinical colleagues so that they can take a decision on how to proceed with the management. And so there is a risk of malignancy attached to each of these criteria, and with specific recommendation on how to follow up when the lesions are diagnosed into each of these criteria. So in 2017, the Bethesda system was revised, taking into consideration NIFTIP. So when NIFTIP, if you take out NIFTIP while calculating the risk of malignancy or ROM, then the risk of malignancy for these entities are so forth. But if you include NIFTIP, so basically what happens in calculating risk of malignancy is you take up all your cases of atypia of undetermined significance or follicular neoplasm, and then you follow up those cases, and finally in final histopathology what they turn out to be. So in such a procedure, if you are leaving out NIFTIP in your calculation, the risk of malignancy is so forth, and if you are including NIFTIP, then it is significantly more. So that implies that NIFTIP is a significant proportion of all these categories, which is right so because of the nuclear features and because of the follicular architecture, there is every chance that NIFTIP may be diagnosed as any of these three entities. So follicular neoplasm or suspicious for follicular neoplasm, taking into consideration the nuclear features, because NIFTIP or the follicular variant PTC can have these nuclear features. Previously, the nuclear features were not included. Now they have included that nuclear changes, increased nuclear size, nuclear contour or chromatin clearing can be classified as follicular neoplasm or suspicious for follicular neoplasm, with a note that although the architectural features suggest a follicular neoplasm, some nuclear features raise the possibility of an invasive follicular variant of PTC or its recently described indolent counterpart NIFTIP. Definitive distinction among these entities is not possible on cytology material. So with that, we'll go on to the next group of tumors, which are the borderline group of tumors. So these tumors of uncertain malignant potential are a group of borderline tumors between an adenoma and a carcinoma. Under this entity, you have well-differentiated tumor of uncertain malignant potential and follicular tumor of uncertain malignant potential. So, well-differentiated tumor of uncertain malignant potential, they are necessarily follicular patterned, they are encapsulated or well circumscribed, and they have PTC type nuclear changes which can be well or partially developed. The capsular or vascular invasion is equivocal or questionable. So, unlike a NIFTIP, here you can't unequivocally tell that there is no capsular or vascular invasion. You are in doubt as to whether this could be a capsular or vascular invasion. At the same time, you are not able to demonstrate that there is capsular or vascular invasion. So, that is the issue here. And if a well-differentiated tumor of uncertain malignant potential, you can exclude capsular or vascular invasion, then that will in fact become a NIFTIP. So NIFTIP is actually an encapsulated follicular variant of PTC, wherein you have unequivocally proven that there is no capsular or vascular invasion, so that the management, it can be managed in a very like a benign tumor. You don't have to aggressively manage it. Follicular tumor of uncertain malignant potential. So this is also follicular patterned. It is encapsulated or well circumscribed. Here the PTC type nuclear changes are absent. There is no doubt. It is absent. But here again there is doubt about the capsular or vascular invasion, and these lesions are intermediate between follicular adenoma and follicular carcinoma. Now let us go on to papillary thyroid carcinoma follicular variant. So this entity is still there. There is a combination of follicular pattern with PTC nuclei. Nuclear changes are not as florid as a conventional PTC. Capsular or vascular invasion is present. Pattern of metastasis. These group of tumors can actually metastasize by the lymphatic as well as hematogenous. So they can produce distant metastasis as well as lymph node metastasis. Now you have variants, the infiltrative. So it is widely infiltrating the thyroid parenchyma. You have an encapsulated follicular variant of PTC with invasion of the capsule. Otherwise, what I would like to stress is that an encapsulated follicular variant of PTC with no invasion is now NIFTIP. So you don't have an encapsulated PTC with no invasion as a terminology that has been converted into NIFTIP, but you very well have an encapsulated follicular variant of PTC wherein there is invasion of the capsule. So these patterns, like you can have a macro follicular pattern, these are you can have a micro follicular pattern, macro follicular pattern. These patterns are a bit difficult to diagnose because macro follicular pattern under the low power, if you are not very careful to look into the nuclear features under the high power, you may just take it for a adenomatoid nodule because those macro follicular pattern. Then another pattern is the diffuse or multinodular, wherein the whole thyroid may sometimes be involved, and you have to look carefully under your high power to pick up those nuclear features. Sprinkling sign, this I have already mentioned under NEFT. So this is just foci of those nuclear changes. Now regarding genetic profile of follicular variant of PTC, it is rather similar to the follicular thyroid carcinoma rather than the papillary carcinoma, like your NIFTIP or the borderline group of tumors. So you expect the RAS and PAX8 PPR gamma mutations are present. The BRAF V600E mutation and RET fusions, which are characteristically present in your conventional papillary thyroid carcinoma, is absent in follicular variant of PTC. But BRAF K601E mutations are often detected, and other mutations can also be present. Now going on to follicular carcinoma. So follicular carcinomas are again differentiated thyroid cancers. They arise from thyroid follicular cells and they have absolutely no nuclear features of papillary carcinoma, and there is definite capsular and or vascular invasion. So this is from the recent WHO 2017, wherein the classification right now is a minimally invasive follicular carcinoma where there is only capsular invasion. You have an encapsulated angio-invasive follicular carcinoma wherein you have a limited subclassification for that, which is done by the number of vessels that you identify with vascular invasion. So limited vascular invasion will be less than 4 vessels, and extensive vascular invasion will be more than or equal to 4 vessels. Then you have a widely invasive follicular carcinoma where you can appreciate the extensive infiltration into the thyroid parenchyma. There is obvious infiltration into the thyroid parenchyma. So angio-invasion is a bad prognosis, and follicular carcinoma with less than 4 vessel involvement has a better prognosis compared to those with more than 4 vessel involvement. So these are just previously also we have seen these images of capsular invasion, vascular invasion, so on. So lymphatic invasion is rare. So if you see a case where you have a diagnosis of follicular carcinoma and the patient has lymph node mets, it's highly likely that it is a follicular variant of papillary thyroid carcinoma rather than a follicular carcinoma. So lymph node metastases are extremely rare, and follicular carcinoma disseminates hematogenously, and you see metastases to bone, lung, brain, liver are the common sites. So variants, we usually describe so many variants for a papillary thyroid carcinoma, but none of us are that familiar with the variants of the follicular carcinoma. This is because they are extremely rare and also extremely difficult to pick up also. So you have these variants, clear cell variant, where the criteria is more than 50% of cells should be clear cell. So for your papillary carcinoma, to call it a variant, whether it is tall cell, hook-nail, columnar, all that, the criteria is 30%. Here, it is more than 50% should be clear cell. And of course, the differential that will come, because this is such a rare entity, rare variant, the differential, you have to definitely rule out a clear cell renal cell carcinoma metastasizing to thyroid, which is more common. The other variant is signet ring cell type. So signet ring cell type also extremely rare, and this you will have a differential with your mucin secreting adenocarcinoma metastasizing to thyroid. spindle shaped. So spindle shaped and spindle shaped tumor in thyroid, the first possibility that you will think of is either an anaplastic or a medullary. And you can use your immuno to sort out this issue. And anaplastic, you can also differentiate by the clinical presentation, a rapidly growing tumor with highly pleomorphic cells. The spindle-shaped variant of follicular will not show that much pleomorphism. That is what the WHO tells, because these are all rare, no personal experience. Most of us will not be having any personal experience with these rare variants. Another rare variant they are telling is about the glomeruloid pattern. So that I was telling just for completion's sake. Now genetic profile, this also we have discussed. For follicular carcinoma, it is the RAS and PPAR gamma. And you have other mutations also, and TERT mutation is supposed to be associated with a bad prognosis. So the approach to management of thyroid nodule, basically it is a multidisciplinary approach. You have the clinical side, the radiology, the FNAC in your pre-operative workup. So based on all these clinical opinion, radiology, they have the TIRADS staging for the thyroid nodules. In FNAC now you have the Bethesda with the 1 to 6 categories. And based on all these, the decisions are taken up. So based on these, the patient may be kept on follow-up. We may advise for a repeat FNAC, maybe a guided FNAC. And even in now the recent revised Bethesda, they have also advised for molecular to sort out issues, but I don't think that is being practiced anywhere now, at least in India. And you can also opt for surgery, which can be a lobectomy or hemithyroidectomy. And according to the diagnosis, if it is a suspicious or malignant lesion, you can go in for near total thyroidectomy plus or minus a neck dissection and radioactive iodine therapy. Now I have been stressing, and the literature also stressed so much on the need to never overdiagnose a NIFTIP. So don't overtreat your NIFTIP. That is what the literature tells, and that has been the stress now. But being a referral center, I'm coming from a referral center, I have to tell about this problem that we are facing, because there is, after this NIFTIP has been introduced, we are coming across many cases from outside which are sent to us for second opinion, which are labeled as NIFTIP. And if you strictly, that I have been stressing on all the criteria that are needed and the meticulous sampling, the grossing and all of to reach a diagnosis of NIFTIP. Because when there is a diagnosis of NIFTIP, the patient is just kept on follow-up, no other therapy is offered to the patient. And so you have to be careful. In fact, the WHO tells that the percentage of NIFTIP in Europe and Asia is different. Asia usually has a lower number of incidents of NIFTIP cases. So when you, my point that I'm trying to stress is we should avoid underdiagnosis also. So clear-cut cases of papillary carcinoma thyroid, or some cases where there is a doubtful capsular invasion, you have to sample. You can't do away with that. Adequate sampling is a must, and you should avoid underdiagnosis. So with that, I'm going on to a short case which recently came to us. It's a 45-year-old lady with outside diagnosis of NIFTIP, and slides were submitted for second opinion at our center. So here you can see the capsule, and from our sections, most sections studied, we could definitely demonstrate that even outside, this tumor nest is invading into the surrounding parenchyma. And of course there were papillae also. So true papillae with capsular invasion, it was a papillary thyroid carcinoma which was labeled as NIFTIP. So please, you should avoid underdiagnosis also. So I'll conclude my talk by telling that no classification is, I'm just borrowing the words of Pierre Masson, the pathologist, no classification is more difficult to establish than that of thyroid carcinomas. Of all cancers, they teach perhaps the greatest lessons of humility to histopathologists. So the thing is that what the pathologist's worst nightmare would be diagnosis of follicular adenoma given few years later, the patient presenting with a nodal mets or a distant mets. That would be a worst scenario. So adequate sampling and application of all the criteria before taking your call is a must. So thank you.
Thank you so much. The last slide says it all. Absolutely right. It's a real nightmare, when you diagnose a follicular adenoma and it comes back with a lymph node met.
Yes.
And the more difficult part of it is in the private sector, people who are practicing is what is the definition of an adequate sampling? Because every sample which is being done in many places, it's slide oriented, so the patient has to pay for it. So there, it's a slightly a catch-22 situation.
Yeah, but I think in this entity, we are not justified in making compromise in any way in the crossing,
Yeah.
because that is affecting patient management.
Exactly, absolutely right. And that is something which we need to explain to the surgeons at times, and they are very resistant in understanding that.
Yeah.
Because the surgeon wants to take the bigger part of the cake and leave us just a small part to us. And so it becomes very difficult. Wonderful presentation, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you.
You are an excellent teacher, excellent teacher. I mean, the way you taught with the calmness and slowly and this is a very difficult subject. And with every time a new entity keeps coming up and makes the things much more complicated. So trying to keep abreast with the new entities, trying to differentiate one from the other, they are very much overlapping at places.
Yes.
Wonderfully presented, excellent. No doubt you are the national expert in head and neck pathology. Wonderfully done, excellent presentation. Let me see if there are any questions from people on the Google Meet here or there in the YouTube. There is slight internet delay, so we will have to wait for some time.
Sure.
In the meantime, the audience in the Google Meet, if they want to ask a question to madam, they can ask her straight away. Unmute your mic and please ask a question. This is something which is quite intriguing for all of us. Looks very simple, is very difficult. And sometimes it's so you can share your video so that we can see you, ma'am.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, just start presenting. So right, great. So if anybody wants to ask any question from the Google Meet to madam, they can ask. I'm just waiting for any questions on the YouTube if there are any. I think there are no questions here. Let me just see the YouTube. There are no questions there. So we are done for the day, but we are not done at all with you. I think we will ask you to come back again with papillary thyroid carcinomas and its, rare variants, maybe sometime, maybe after a month or maybe more. I know you are very busy, and post-COVID, things have become really tough. It's just pouring in and pouring in, as if, there is no end. I think the same case must be with you people.
Yeah.
All the backlog, we are facing in a very short period of time. So maybe after a month or so, I'll get back to you, ma'am, for this lecture on papillary thyroid carcinomas
Sure.
and
My
including the rare variants. You are a wonderful teacher, and your concept of head and neck pathology is tremendous, wonderful.
Thank you.
you so much for being here on the platform. Please share the PDF. I will share with the students on the Google Drive. God bless you, ma'am. Take care. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.